Evolution is a major topic which you need to grasp in your paper 2 of your NSC Life Sciences final exam. It comprises of numerous key focus points that you need to understand. Therefore, let's take a look at it before we look at section B questions of evolution. Some of the key focus points that you need to look at is going to be firstly evidence for evolution, the role of fossil record, biogeography, modification by descent, genetics as evidence for evolution, sources of variation, meiosis, which involves crossing over and random arrangement of chromosomes, mutations, random fertilization, random mating, Lamarck and Darwin's theories, the general theories according to the exam guidelines, as well as applying it to a given example, natural and artificial selection, where you'll need to describe the process and tabulate the differences. Very, very important. Natural and artificial selection. Then punctuated equilibrium, where you define and describe the process of speciation, applying it using an example, being able to identify the geographical barrier and speciation of one species becoming different species, mechanisms of reproductive isolation, evolution in present times, human evolution with the similarities of humans and African apes, with the aid of diagrams as applies to the characteristics in the exam guidelines, human evolution, the anatomical differences between humans and African apes, long and narrow versus short and wide, large canines versus small canines, etc. Trends in human evolution, interpretation of a phylogenetic tree, the out of Africa hypothesis, focus on species found in Africa and those found only in Africa. The first question, 3.3, says describe the process of speciation through geographic isolation for 7 marks. Please make sure you are able to answer a question like this, geographic isolation. What are we looking at? When you are going to have a population that becomes separated by a geographical barrier such as a river, lake, mountain or ocean. The first sentence that we will start off with is a 7-mark question. If a population of a single species becomes separated by a geographical barrier, that's a sea, river, mountain or lake, then the population splits into 2. There's no gene flow between the 2 populations. Each population may be exposed to different environmental conditions, and therefore natural selection occurs independently, such that the individuals of the 2 populations become different, genotypically and phenotypically different. Even if these 2 populations were to mix again, they will not be able to interbreed and produce fertile offspring. Therefore, we say they have now caused the formation of different species. The next question, 3.4, says the diagrams below represent skulls of hominids. So you see you have 3 different hominids here. Homo sapiens, gorilla, Homo naledi, and then you have a label that shows you where the cranial ridge is located. Firstly, 3.4.1 lists 3 similarities in relation to vision that are shared by these organisms for 3 marks. 3 characteristics relating to vision that is shared by them. So firstly, you can see that the eyes are all located in front of the head. Therefore, they are going to have binocular vision, also referred to as stereoscopic vision. They are all going to be able to see color vision since they have the presence of cones, which are photoreceptors that allows them to see color vision. So 3 similarities, the eyes are in front, binocular and stereoscopic vision, and they are able to see color objects since they have the presence of cones located in their eyes. 3.4.2, name 1 species in the diagram that was the most prognathous. So most prognathous means the one that's sloping the most. So therefore it is going to be gorilla. 3.4.3, describe the 2 structures that cause the species named in question 3.4.2 to be most prognathous for 2 marks. What are the 2 structures that cause the gorilla to be the most prognathous? Now you know that a lot of prognathism is going to come here from the bottom because of the large canines. They're going to have large jaws. So large canines and teeth is going to give them that large jaw. The next question, 3.4.4 says, Homo naledi was bipedal for most of its adult life. Explain how the structure of Homo naledi's skull would have assisted bipedalism for 3 marks. So let's look at Homo naledi. How the structure of his skull assisted with bipedalism. You can see that the skull is going to be slightly bigger compared to gorilla. And if it has a slightly bigger skull, it's going to have a bigger brain, it's going to house for more intelligence, etc. So the more forward, also you'll notice that the skull as the foramen magnum was located in a more forward central position compared to the foramen magnum located at the back in gorilla. So the more forward position of the foramen magnum is going to allow the spine to enter vertically beneath the skull to support the skull for upright walking. So for 3.4.4, you're going to have a more forward or more central location of the foramen magnum that allows the spine to enter vertically into the skull and support the upright position or bipedalism, also referred to as upright walking. 3.4.5, describe the difference between Homo sapiens and gorilla in relation to the shape of the spine. So if we look at Homo sapiens compared to gorilla, Homo sapiens is the modern day humans, but gorilla is the African apes. So, difference in shape of the spine, we know that the one is S-shaped and the other one is C-shaped. Therefore, for 3.4.5, Homo sapiens has an S-shaped spine, but gorilla, they're the African ape, therefore they have the C-shaped spine. The next thing, the shape of the pelvis. We know that the pelvis is going to have a different shape in modern day humans compared to apes. Homo sapiens has a short and wide pelvis, but the gorilla is going to have a long and narrow pelvis. 3.4.6, explain why gorilla species has a cranial ridge. So why does gorilla species have a cranial ridge? For the attachment of strong muscles to assist in eating tough, hard food. So the cranial ridge is going to assist with that strong muscles that's going to allow them to eat tough, hard food since they have that large canines. The next question, 3.5, says, read the passage below that states, Natura flowers open in the evening and release a powerful fragrance which attracts hawk moths. The Datura produces a highly addictive nectar which ensures that the hawk moths stay longer inside the flower and only visit Datura flowers. 3.5.1, explain 2 ways in which the Datura plants ensure that they are reproductively isolated. What do they do to ensure that they are reproductively isolated? You would have remembered in this topic, you would have spoken about reproductive isolating mechanisms. And these reproductive isolating mechanisms is going to allow certain plants and animals to be reproductively isolated. What are 2 things that the Datura plants do that keeps them reproductively isolated? So we go back to the paragraph. The flowers open in the evening and release powerful fragrance which attracts hawk moths. The Datura produces highly addictive nectar which ensures that the hawk moths stay longer inside the flower and only visit the Datura flowers. So firstly, the Datura flowers release a powerful fragrance that attracts the hawk moths. They're going to release the powerful fragrance that attracts the hawk moths. Secondly, they release a highly addictive nectar that ensures that the hawk moths only visit or stay longer in the flower. Those are 2 ways that the Datura plants ensure that they are reproductively isolated. 3.5.2, state 2 other mechanisms that would ensure reproductive isolation in plants. So we are stating 2 others that have not been mentioned here. We are simply going to state any 2 reproductive isolating mechanisms that we studied. So things like breeding, different times of the year, infertile offspring, prevention of fertilization. The next question is the 3.2 that says read the extract below. A move towards no tusks, an elephant story of natural selection. Remember that the theorist who proposed the theory of natural selection was Charles Darwin, who proposed the theory of natural selection. The study of African elephants in Gorongosa National Park, Mozambique, found that a great condition which resulted in tuskless females had become more common after the 15-year civil war. Over 90% of Mozambique's elephant population were killed and the ivory used to finance the war. Before the war, only 2 out of every 100 female African elephants were born tuskless. But that figure has risen 33% of the 91 female elephants born since the end of the war was tuskless. Elephants normally eat grass, leaves, fruit, bark of trees and the roots of legumes. However, the tuskless elephants are shifting their diet. Without long tusks to peel barks from trees and dig up roots, the females eat mostly grass. Now the scientists are studying how this will affect the species and its environment. So you have your elephant with tusks, and then you are going to have your elephant without tusks. So you see there are no tusks here. The first question, 3.2.1, says from the extract, write down a sentence that explains the natural diet of elephants with tusks. So if you go to the extract, you will see it states that elephants normally eat grass, leaves, fruit, bark of trees, and the roots of legumes. 3.2.2 says you're calculating the number of tuskless female elephants born since the end of war. In the paragraph, you will see they're speaking about 33% out of 91. Therefore, 33 over 100 times 91 is going to give you 30 female elephants. 3.2.3 explain the evolution of tuskless elephant population using Darwin's theory of natural selection. Easy 5 marks in the bag. If you study and you memorize the theory of natural selection, you are simply going to apply that knowledge to this question. So 3.2.3, firstly, there's a great deal of variation amongst the population of elephants. You have to be specific to the question because the question is talking about the evolution of tuskless elephant population. So there's a great deal of variation amongst the population of elephants because we're talking about elephants here. Some are going to have tusks and some do not. So when there was an increase in poaching, elephants without tusks survived and elephants with tusks were killed. The elephants that survived, they reproduced and they passed on the allele for the favorable characteristic to their offspring. The next generation therefore had a higher proportion of individuals without tusks. And therefore, over a period of time, the entire population is not going to have tusks. 3.2.4 explain how the change in the elephant's diet will affect the vegetation if the number of tuskless elephants are going to increase. So if the tuskless elephants are going to increase, the diet will become different. There will be more legumes and trees and less grass because they are going to be eating all the grass and they're going to be eating less legumes because there's no tusks. As the elephants now eat more grass and less legumes or less bark. The next question, 2.7, says the table contains diagrams representing the body parts of different primate species. So you have A, B, C, D, E, and F. The first question, 2.7.1, says which diagram represents the pelvis of a bipedal organism. So the pelvis of a bipedal organism. You have two representing pelvis shape, it's C and it's E, but a bipedal organism has a short and wider pelvis compared to an African ape. Therefore, we are rather selecting C. Give one reason for your answer. The pelvis is short and wide. 2.7.3, what type of grip is possible due to the structure of body part F? So if we look at body part F, you have 5 fingers and you have 5 fingers on a hand. Therefore, the type of grip, is it going to be a precision grip, or which type of grip will it be? It's going to be the precision grip, or referred to as the power grip. 2.7.4, give all the letters of the body parts that belong to a chimpanzee for 2 marks. So chimpanzee is an African ape. So letters that belong to a chimpanzee, we can see A is possibly going to be one. B, definitely not. It looks like a modern day human. C, definitely not. D is possibly one. E is possibly one. And F, no, because that one's bipedal. Therefore, we chose A, D, and E. 2.7.5, describe one difference between the teeth of organisms B and D for 2 marks. Between organisms B and organism D, the teeth, how are they different? Organism D is an ape and organism B is the modern day humans, also referred to as the Homo sapiens. D has larger canines and B has smaller canines. That's one difference. So organism B has small canines and organism D has large canines. You could also say that organism B has no diastema, so no gaps in between the incisors and canines, but organism D has the diastema. That brings us to the end of this video where we revise the topic on evolution using section B questions from previous exam papers. Please ensure that when you are studying for paper 2, you are studying the following topics: DNA, the code of life, meiosis, genetics and inheritance, as well as evolution. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope to have you all join me in future videos where I will be teaching content based on grade 12 life sciences as well as grade 11 life sciences.